Stop organizing your life around other people's chaos. If you've been feeling like everything is falling apart, like no matter how hard you try, things just don't come together, you're not broken. You're just missing 7 simple truths that could change everything. And by the end of this video, your entire approach to life will never be the same. Napoleon Hill spent 20 years studying the most successful people who ever lived. He interviewed over 500 millionaires, business leaders, and thinkers. And what he discovered wasn't about money or fame. It was about principles. 7 specific principles that organize their entire existence. These aren't just ideas, they're practical tools that work in real life. And in 2026, when everything feels scattered and overwhelming, these principles matter more than ever. Let me show you how they work. Principle 1, definiteness of purpose. Most people wander through life without any clear direction. They wake up, go through the motions, and wonder why nothing meaningful ever happens. The first principle is definiteness of purpose, and it's the foundation of everything else. Napoleon Hill said that 98% of people have no definite purpose in life. They drift. They react to whatever comes their way. They let circumstances control them instead of controlling their circumstances, and that's why they stay stuck. Think about it like this. If you get in a car without knowing where you're going, you'll just drive in circles. You might move, but you won't arrive anywhere. Purpose is your destination. It's the one thing you decide matters most. Not 10 things, not 5 things. One clear, definite purpose. Here's what most people don't understand. Purpose isn't something you find. It's something you choose. You don't wait for some magical moment where everything becomes clear. You decide what you want, and you commit to it fully. That decision organizes everything else in your life. When you have a definite purpose, you stop wasting time on things that don't matter. You stop saying yes to everything. You stop letting other people pull you in different directions. Your purpose becomes a filter. Every decision, every action, every thought gets measured against it. Does this move me closer to my purpose or further away? That's the only question that matters. Without this, you'll always feel scattered. You'll always feel like you're busy but not productive, like you're moving but not progressing. Definiteness of purpose gives you clarity, and clarity is power. Let me tell you something that changed my understanding of this principle completely. When Napoleon Hill interviewed these 500 successful people, he noticed something strange. They all had moments in their lives where they could have quit, where everything seemed impossible, where logic told them to walk away. But they didn't. And the reason they didn't wasn't because they were tougher or smarter or luckier. It was because they had a purpose that was bigger than their circumstances. Your purpose has to be strong enough to pull you through the hard times. It has to be clear enough that when distractions come, and they will come, you can recognize them immediately. It has to be personal enough that no one can talk you out of it. Because people will try. They'll tell you it's not realistic. They'll tell you to be practical. They'll tell you to settle for less. And if your purpose isn't deeply rooted in who you are and what you truly want, you'll listen to them. Here's what happens when you don't have definiteness of purpose. You become a leaf in the wind. Every trend pulls you. Every opinion sways you. Every setback stops you. You start 10 projects and finish none. You chase every opportunity and catch nothing. You work hard but never feel like you're making progress. And the worst part is years pass and you look back wondering where all that time went. But when you have a definite purpose, something spiritual happens. It's like the universe starts working with you instead of against you. Opportunities that match your purpose start appearing. People who can help you show up at exactly the right time. Resources you need become available. This isn't magic, it's focus. When you know exactly what you want, your mind starts noticing things it ignored before. You start seeing connections that were always there but invisible to you. I want you to understand something important. Your purpose doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to change the world. It doesn't have to impress anyone. It just has to be yours. It has to be something that makes you want to get out of bed in the morning. Something that makes the struggle worth it. Something that gives your life meaning beyond just existing. So ask yourself right now, what is the one thing I want to achieve in my life? Not what your parents want, not what society expects. What do you actually want? Write it down, make it specific, make it real, And here's the key part. Make it something you can see in your mind. Make it so vivid that you can feel what it's like to achieve it. Because that vision is what will carry you through every obstacle, every doubt, every moment when giving up feels easier than going on. And once you have that purpose, once you've made that decision, protect it. Don't share it with people who will tear it down. Don't let anyone plant seeds of doubt in your mind. Guard it like your life depends on it. Because in a very real way, the quality of your life does depend on it. Your purpose is the organizing force of your entire existence. Everything else flows from it. Principle 2, Mastermind Alliance. You cannot achieve great things alone. That's not an opinion, that's a fact. The second principle is the Mastermind Alliance, and it's one of the most misunderstood concepts in personal development. A mastermind isn't just a group of friends. It's not networking. It's not hanging out with people who think like you. A mastermind is a group of people who are all committed to a shared purpose, who support each other, challenge each other, and push each other to grow. Napoleon Hill discovered that every successful person he studied had a mastermind group. Andrew Carnegie had one, Henry Ford had one, Thomas Edison had one. These weren't lone wolves. They were part of something bigger. Here's why this matters. When you surround yourself with people who are going in the same direction, something powerful happens. Your energy multiplies, your ideas get better, your confidence grows, you start to see possibilities you couldn't see before. But here's the truth most people avoid. You need to leave behind the people who are holding you back. Not because they're bad people, but because they're not aligned with your purpose. If you're trying to build something meaningful and the people around you only talk about distractions, gossip, and complaints, you're going to stay stuck. This doesn't mean you abandon everyone. It means you're intentional about who you spend your time with. You create a circle of people who inspire you, who challenge you, who believe in your vision even when you doubt yourself. And here's the spiritual part. When two or more minds come together with a shared purpose, something beyond logic happens. There's an energy, a force, a power that emerges. Napoleon Hill called it the mastermind principle. It's not just about collaboration, it's about tapping into something greater than yourself. Think about what happens when you're around negative people, people who complain constantly, people who see problems in every solution, people who tell you all the reasons why things won't work. You start feeling drained, your energy drops, your enthusiasm fades, and before you know it, you're thinking like them, you're talking like them, you're living like them. Now think about what happens when you're around people who are building something, people who are growing, people who are solving problems instead of just talking about them. You feel energized, ideas start flowing, you see opportunities everywhere, you start believing that more is possible. That's not coincidence, that's the mastermind principle at work. But here's what makes this principle so difficult for most people. Creating a mastermind alliance requires you to be honest about your current relationships. And that honesty can be painful. You might realize that your closest friends aren't supporting your growth. You might see that the people you spend the most time with are actually keeping you stuck. You might understand that you've been choosing comfort over progress. And once you see that, you have a choice to make. You can ignore it and stay where you are. Or you can make the hard decision to change your circle. Not with anger, not with judgment, but with clarity about what you need to move forward. Let me be clear about something. This doesn't mean you become arrogant or think you're better than anyone. It means you're serious about your purpose. And you understand that who you surround yourself with will either accelerate or delay your progress. There's no middle ground. Napoleon Hill discovered something fascinating about mastermind groups. When people come together with a shared goal and a genuine desire to help each other succeed, they create a third mind, a collective intelligence that's greater than any individual mind in the group. This third mind sees things no single person could see. It solves problems no single person could solve. It creates opportunities no single person could create. That's why every major achievement in history involved collaboration. Every successful business, every great invention, every cultural movement, they all had mastermind groups behind them. People who pushed each other, challenged each other, supported each other, believed in each other when belief was hard to find. So look at the people in your life right now. Are they lifting you up or pulling you down? Are they helping you grow or keeping you comfortable? Are they aligned with your purpose or distracting you from it? These aren't easy questions, but they're necessary questions. And if you realize you don't have a mastermind alliance, if you're trying to do everything alone, understand this. You're making it harder than it needs to be. You're limiting your potential. You're cutting yourself off from the very thing that could help you break through to the next level. Start building your mastermind today. Find one person who shares your values and your direction. Then find another and another. Create a small group of people who are all committed to growth, who are all willing to be honest with each other, who are all ready to do the work. And watch what happens when you stop trying to do everything alone and start tapping into the power of collective intelligence and shared purpose. Principle 3, applied faith. Faith without action is just wishful thinking. The third principle is applied faith. And this is where most people get stuck. They believe in their dreams, they believe in their goals, but they don't act like they believe. They wait for proof before they move. They wait for guarantees. They wait for the perfect moment. And while they're waiting, life passes them by. Applied faith means you act on your belief before you see the results. You take the first step even when you don't know where the path leads. You trust the process even when it's uncomfortable. You move forward even when you're scared. Napoleon Hill studied people who built empires from nothing. They didn't have money, they didn't have connections, they didn't have safety nets. But they had applied faith. They believed in their vision so deeply that they acted as if success was inevitable. Think about this. Every great achievement in history started with someone who had no proof it would work. The Wright brothers didn't have evidence that humans could fly. Steve Jobs didn't have evidence that people would want a personal computer. Martin Luther King didn't have evidence that change was possible, but they all had applied faith, and they acted on it. This is where spirituality meets reality. Faith isn't religious, it's a mental state. It's the decision to trust yourself, to trust your purpose, to trust that the universe will meet you halfway when you take action. But here's the thing. Faith requires you to let go of control. You can't plan every step, you can't see the whole staircase, you just have to take the first step, and then the next one, and the next one. That's applied faith. Let me explain why this principle is so hard for people. We're taught to be logical. We're taught to gather all the information before making a decision. We're taught to minimize risk. We're taught to play it safe. And all of that makes sense in certain situations. But when it comes to creating something meaningful, when it comes to building the life you actually want, logic and safety will keep you stuck forever. Because here's the truth. There will never be enough proof. There will never be enough guarantees. There will never be a perfect moment. If you wait until you feel completely ready, you'll wait your entire life. Applied faith is about moving before you're ready. It's about taking action despite the uncertainty. It's about trusting yourself more than you trust your fears. And Napoleon Hill talked about this in a way that most people miss. He said that applied faith creates a mental state where your mind starts working differently. Instead of seeing all the reasons why something won't work, you start seeing all the ways it could work. Instead of focusing on obstacles, you start noticing opportunities. Instead of feeling paralyzed by doubt, you feel energized by possibility. And this isn't positive thinking. This isn't pretending everything is fine when it's not. This is a fundamental shift in how you approach life. When you have applied faith, you're not ignoring reality. You're creating a new reality through your actions. Think about what happens when you act on faith. You take a step. Maybe it's scary. Maybe it's uncomfortable. Maybe you don't know if it's the right move, but you do it anyway. And then something changes. You gain information you didn't have before. You learn something about yourself. You discover a strength you didn't know existed. And that gives you the courage to take the next step. That's how progress actually happens. Not through careful planning and perfect execution, but through imperfect action and continuous learning, through taking steps even when you're scared, through trusting yourself even when others doubt you, through moving forward even when the path isn't clear. Here's what most people don't realize about applied faith. It's not a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. Every single day you have to choose faith over fear, action over hesitation, trust over doubt. Some days it's easier than others, Some days you'll feel strong and confident. Other days you'll feel weak and uncertain. But the principle remains the same. Keep moving, keep acting, keep trusting. And here's the spiritual component that Napoleon Hill discovered. When you act on faith, when you move toward your purpose despite uncertainty, the universe responds. Not always in the way you expect, not always on your timeline, but it responds. Doors open, people appear, resources become available, opportunities emerge, and suddenly things that seemed impossible start becoming possible. So stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the right time. Stop waiting for proof. If you believe in something, act on it today, not tomorrow. Today. Take one small step. Make one move. Do one thing that brings you closer to your purpose. Because applied faith only works when you apply it. And the moment you start applying it, your entire life begins to change. Principle 4. Going the extra mile. Success isn't about doing what's required. It's about doing more than what's required. The fourth principle is going the extra mile. And this is the secret that separates average from extraordinary. Most people do just enough to get by. They meet the minimum. They do what they're told. And then they wonder why they're not recognized, why they're not rewarded, why they're not successful. The answer is simple. They're not giving more than they're getting. Napoleon Hill said that the habit of going the extra mile is the only way to stand out in a crowded world. When everyone else does the minimum, you do the maximum. When everyone else quits at 5 o'clock, you stay until the job is done. When everyone else gives up after one try, you keep going. But here's what makes this principle so powerful. Going the extra mile isn't about working yourself to death. It's about adding value. It's about serving others without expecting immediate return. It's about planting seeds today that will grow into forests tomorrow. Think about it like this. When you go the extra mile, you're not just helping someone else. You're building your own reputation. You're creating opportunities. You're proving to yourself that you're capable of more than you thought. And here's the spiritual truth. The universe rewards those who give without expectation, not because of some cosmic balance sheet, but because when you give more, you become more. You develop skills, you build confidence, you attract opportunities. Let me tell you why this principle changed everything for the people Napoleon Hill studied. They understood something that most people never figure out. The person who does only what they're paid to do will never get paid for more than they do. Read that again. If you only give what's required, you'll only receive what's required. No more, no less. You stay exactly where you are. But when you start giving more than you're paid for, when you start doing more than what's expected, something shifts in your favor. People start noticing you. Not because you're trying to show off, but because excellence is rare. Most people are so busy protecting their time and energy that they miss the point completely. The extra mile is where all the magic happens. It's where promotions come from. It's where opportunities are born. It's where success lives. Here's what this looks like in real life. You're at your job and someone needs help. Everyone else is busy or pretending to be busy. You could ignore it. You could say it's not your responsibility, but instead, you help. You go beyond your role. You solve the problem. And you don't make a big deal about it. You just do it because it needs to be done. Or you're working on a project and you could deliver something basic that meets the requirements. But you choose to add that extra touch. You choose to make it better than it needs to be. You choose to give more than what was asked for, not for recognition, not for a pat on the back, but because that's who you've decided to become. This principle isn't about being a pushover. It's not about letting people take advantage of you. It's about building something inside yourself that nobody can take away. It's about developing a standard of excellence that becomes part of your character. Napoleon Hill discovered that the people who went the extra mile consistently were the ones who eventually became leaders in their fields. They were the ones who got promoted. They were the ones who built successful businesses. They were the ones who lived extraordinary lives. And it wasn't because they were smarter or more talented. It was because they developed a habit that most people refuse to develop. So stop asking what's in it for me. Stop calculating every action based on immediate payoff. Start giving more than you're paid for. Start doing more than you're asked to do. Start showing up with excellence even when no one's watching. Because here's the secret. Someone is always watching. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually your reputation catches up with you. And that reputation will either open doors or close them. Think about the people you respect most, the people you trust, the people you want to work with. What do they all have in common? They go the extra mile. They show up when others don't. They deliver more than expected. They care about the outcome, not just the paycheck. And because of that, opportunities find them. Success finds them. Life organizes itself around them in ways it never does for people who are constantly asking, what's the minimum I can do and still get by? Here's the spiritual dimension of this principle. When you give without expecting immediate return, you're operating from a place of abundance instead of scarcity. You're saying to the universe, I have enough to give. I have enough value to share. I'm not worried about getting mine right now because I trust that if I plant these seeds, they'll grow into something bigger than I can imagine. And that's exactly what happens. Maybe not today, maybe not this month, but over time, those seeds sprout. Those extra miles add up. Those moments when you chose to give more instead of less create a compound effect that transforms your entire life. Because here's what happens. When you consistently go the extra mile, people notice. Opportunities appear, doors open, and suddenly the life you've been organizing starts organizing itself around you. Principle 5. Pleasing personality. Your personality is your power. The fifth principle is developing a pleasing personality. And no, this doesn't mean being fake or trying to make everyone like you. It means cultivating qualities that naturally attract people and opportunities. Napoleon Hill identified 16 traits of a pleasing personality, but the core of it is simple. Positive mental attitude, flexibility, sincerity, a good sense of humor, empathy, enthusiasm. These aren't soft skills. They're survival skills. Think about the most successful people you know. They're not always the smartest. They're not always the most talented. But they know how to connect with people. They know how to make others feel valued. They know how to create positive energy wherever they go. Here's why this matters for organizing your life. Your personality determines the quality of your relationships. And your relationships determine the quality of your life. If you're difficult to work with, people avoid you. If you're negative, opportunities pass you by. If you're rigid, life becomes a constant struggle. But when you develop a pleasing personality, everything gets easier. People want to help you. They want to work with you. They want to be around you. Doors open that were previously closed. And not because you're manipulating anyone, but because you're genuinely pleasant to be around. This is where the spiritual element comes in. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. If you're organized internally, if you're at peace with yourself, if you carry positive energy, that radiates outward. People feel it. They respond to it. Let me be honest with you about something. Most people underestimate how much their personality affects their success. They think success is about skills, about knowledge, about hard work, and those things matter. But Napoleon Hill found something interesting. The people who achieved the most success weren't necessarily the most skilled or the most knowledgeable. They were the people others wanted to be around. They were the people who made others feel good. They were the people who created positive energy in every room they entered. Think about your own life. Think about the people you choose to spend time with. Are you drawn to negative people who complain all day? Are you excited to work with people who are difficult and rigid? Of course not. You're drawn to people who are positive, flexible, sincere, and enthusiastic. Everyone is. That's human nature. So if you want to organize your life for success, if you want opportunities to come your way, if you want people to help you and support you, you need to become someone others want to be around. And that starts with developing a pleasing personality. Now here's what makes this principle difficult. You can't fake it. People can sense when someone is being fake. They can feel when the positivity is forced. They can tell when someone is only being nice because they want something. Real personality development comes from the inside out. It comes from actually working on yourself, from actually letting go of negativity, from actually choosing to see the good in situations and people. This means you have to do the inner work. You have to look at your patterns. Are you someone who complains constantly? Are you someone who sees problems in everything? Are you someone who makes others feel small to make yourself feel big? If the answer is yes to any of these, you're pushing opportunities away without even knowing it, so work on yourself from the inside out. Let go of bitterness. Release resentment. Stop complaining. Start appreciating. Start smiling. Start listening. These simple shifts change everything. When you let go of bitterness, you create space for gratitude. When you release resentment, you free up energy for growth. When you stop complaining, you start noticing solutions. When you start appreciating, people feel valued around you. When you smile, you change the energy of every interaction. When you listen, people trust you. And here's the truth. A pleasing personality isn't something you're born with. It's something you develop through practice. Every day you choose how you show up. You choose your attitude. You choose your energy. Make those choices count. Napoleon Hill talked about this in a way that most people miss. He said your personality is like a magnet. It either attracts or repels. And what it attracts or repels determines the quality of your life. If your personality repels people, you'll struggle with everything. Business will be hard. Relationships will be difficult. Opportunities will be rare. But if your personality attracts people, doors open, help appears, success becomes easier because people want to see you win. Think about what this means practically. When you walk into a room, do people light up or shut down? When you speak, do people lean in or pull away? When you need help, do people volunteer or make excuses? The answers to these questions tell you everything about your personality and how it's affecting your life. Here's the spiritual component. Your outer world really is a reflection of your inner world. If you're angry inside, you'll create conflict outside. If you're peaceful inside, you'll create harmony outside. If you're negative inside, you'll attract negative situations. If you're positive inside, you'll attract positive opportunities. This isn't magic. It's energy. It's vibration. It's the reality of how human connection works. So if you want to organize your life, start by organizing your personality. Make a decision today to become someone others want to be around. Not for manipulation, not for personal gain, but because that's the kind of person who creates a life worth living. That's the kind of person opportunities find. That's the kind of person success follows. Principle 6, personal initiative. Waiting for instructions is the death of potential. The sixth principle is personal initiative, and this is where you take full ownership of your life. Personal initiative means you don't wait to be told what to do. You see what needs to be done and you do it. You don't make excuses. You don't blame circumstances. You take action. Napoleon Hill found that every successful person had this quality. They were self-starters. They didn't need constant motivation. They didn't need someone standing over them. They took initiative because they understood something fundamental. If you want your life to change, you have to be the one to change it. Most people live in reaction mode. Something happens and they react. Someone tells them what to do and they do it. They're passive players in their own lives, and that's why they feel powerless. But when you develop personal initiative, everything shifts. You become the creator instead of the responder. You start seeing opportunities where others see obstacles. You start taking risks where others play it safe. Here's what this looks like in real life. You don't wait for your boss to give you a promotion. You take on more responsibility and prove you're ready. You don't wait for someone to hand you a business idea. You create one. You don't wait for your life to get organized. You organize it. And here's the spiritual truth behind this. The universe responds to action, not thoughts, not intentions, action. When you take initiative, when you move toward your goals without being pushed, you activate a force that starts working in your favor. Opportunities appear. Resources show up. People come into your life at exactly the right time. Let me tell you what Napoleon Hill discovered about personal initiative that changed how I see everything. He found that the most successful people weren't waiting for permission. They weren't waiting for the perfect conditions. They weren't waiting for someone to tell them it was okay to start. They just started. They saw something that needed to be done and they did it. They saw a problem that needed solving and they solved it. They saw an opportunity and they seized it. Think about how most people operate. They wait. They wait for their boss to notice them. They wait for the economy to get better. They wait for the right time. They wait for more experience. They wait for more money. They wait for more confidence. And while they're waiting, years pass. Opportunities disappear. Life moves on without them. But people with personal initiative don't wait. They create. They build. They move. They understand something critical. The perfect time never comes. The right conditions never arrive. If you're waiting for everything to line up perfectly, you'll wait forever. Personal initiative is about taking action now with what you have, where you are, despite imperfect conditions. Here's what this principle really means. It means you stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being the creator of your circumstances. It means you stop blaming the economy, your boss, your past, your family, your lack of resources. You stop making excuses and start making moves. You stop explaining why things aren't working and start figuring out how to make them work. This is where most people fail. Not because they're not capable, not because they don't have potential, but because they're waiting for someone else to make it happen for them. They're waiting for someone to give them permission. They're waiting for someone to hand them the answer. And nobody is coming. Nobody is going to save you. Nobody is going to hand you success. You have to take it. Napoleon Hill studied people who built empires, people who created industries, people who changed the world. And every single one of them had this quality. They didn't wait for approval. They didn't wait for funding. They didn't wait for support. They took initiative. They moved first. They figured it out as they went. Think about what happens when you take personal initiative. You stop feeling helpless. You stop feeling like life is happening to you. You start feeling powerful because you are powerful. You're not waiting for circumstances to change. You're changing circumstances. You're not hoping for opportunities. You're creating opportunities. You're not wishing for a better life. You're building a better life. But none of that happens if you're sitting around waiting. You have to move first. You have to show the universe you're serious. And then watch what happens. When you take initiative, when you move toward your goals without being pushed, something shifts. Doors start opening. People start showing up. Resources become available. Not because of luck, but because you activated something through your action. Here's the spiritual truth. The universe doesn't reward wishful thinking. It doesn't reward good intentions. It rewards action. When you move, the universe moves with you. When you take initiative, forces beyond your understanding start working in your favor. This isn't magic. It's a law. The law of action. The law that says if you want something to change, you have to be the one to change it. So stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for someone to tell you it's okay to start. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. They're never coming. Take initiative today. See what needs to be done in your life and do it. See the opportunity in front of you and seize it. See the person you want to become and start becoming that person right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready, now. Because personal initiative isn't about feeling ready. It's about moving before you're ready. It's about taking action despite fear, despite doubt, despite uncertainty. And when you do that, when you consistently take initiative in your life, everything changes. You stop being a passenger and become the driver. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop waiting and start living. Principle 7, enthusiasm. Nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. The 7th principle is enthusiasm, and this is the fuel that keeps everything else running. Enthusiasm isn't fake excitement. It's not about being loud or over the top. It's genuine passion for what you're doing. It's the fire inside you that refuses to go out no matter what happens. Napoleon Hill said that enthusiasm is contagious. When you're truly enthusiastic about your purpose, people feel it. They're drawn to it. They want to be part of it. Enthusiasm attracts support, resources, and opportunities like nothing else. But here's what most people miss. Enthusiasm isn't something you wait to feel. It's something you create. You choose to be enthusiastic about your work, your goals, your life, even when things are hard, especially when things are hard. Think about it. When you approach your day with enthusiasm, everything feels different. Tasks that seemed boring become interesting. Challenges that seemed overwhelming become exciting. People who seem difficult become approachable. Enthusiasm is energy, and energy is the currency of life. When you have it, you can accomplish anything. When you don't, even simple things feel impossible. Let me explain something about enthusiasm that Napoleon Hill discovered in his research. He noticed that successful people didn't always start with enthusiasm. They didn't wake up every morning feeling excited and motivated, but they made a choice. They chose to bring energy to their work. They chose to find meaning in what they were doing. They chose to be enthusiastic even when circumstances gave them every reason not to be. This is important because most people think enthusiasm comes from external sources. They think they'll be enthusiastic when they get the promotion, when they make more money, when conditions improve, when life gets easier. But that's backwards. Enthusiasm creates success. Success doesn't create enthusiasm. When you show up with enthusiasm, you change everything around you. You change how people perceive you. You change how you perceive yourself. You change the energy of every situation you enter. And that change creates momentum. That momentum creates results. Those results create more enthusiasm. It's a cycle that feeds itself. But it starts with a decision to bring energy to your life regardless of how you feel in the moment. A decision to be passionate about your purpose even when obstacles appear. A decision to stay excited about your vision even when progress feels slow. So how do you generate enthusiasm? You connect with your purpose. You remember why you started. You focus on progress instead of perfection. You celebrate small wins. You surround yourself with positive influences. You take care of your body and mind. Napoleon Hill found that enthusiasm is directly connected to health. When your body is tired, your enthusiasm drops. When your mind is cluttered, your passion fades. That's why successful people guard their energy. They sleep enough. They eat well. They move their bodies. They protect their mental space. Not because they're obsessed with health, but because they understand that enthusiasm requires energy, and energy requires taking care of yourself. Think about the people in your life who have real enthusiasm, not fake hype, real passion. They light up when they talk about what they're doing. They bring energy to conversations. They make you feel more alive just by being around them. That's not an accident. That's a choice they make every single day. And here's the spiritual component. Enthusiasm is a sign that you're aligned with your purpose. When you're doing what you're meant to do, enthusiasm flows naturally. When you're off track, it disappears. So pay attention to your energy. It's telling you something. If you wake up every day dreading what's ahead, that's a message. If you feel drained by your work instead of energized, that's a sign. If you can't find any enthusiasm, no matter how hard you try, you might be moving in the wrong direction. Enthusiasm isn't just a nice feeling, it's guidance. It's your inner compass telling you whether you're on the right path or not. But here's what makes this tricky. Sometimes you're on the right path, and enthusiasm still fades, not because the path is wrong, but because you've lost connection with why it matters. That's when you need to go back to your purpose. Remember what you're building. Remember who you're becoming. Remember why this matters to you. Napoleon Hill talked about this with every successful person he studied. They all had moments of doubt, moments where enthusiasm was hard to find. But they didn't quit. They didn't give up. They reconnected with their purpose. They remembered their vision. They chose enthusiasm even when it wasn't easy. And that choice made all the difference. Because when you maintain enthusiasm through difficult times, you develop something unshakable. You develop a passion that doesn't depend on circumstances. You develop energy that comes from within instead of from outside. You develop a fire that no amount of rain can put out. So start today. Choose enthusiasm, not fake excitement, real passion. Find something in your work that excites you and focus on that. Find something in your goals that energizes you and think about that. Find something in your life that makes you grateful and appreciate that. These small shifts in focus create massive shifts in energy. And that energy becomes the fuel that drives everything else forward. Self-discipline. None of these principles matter without self-discipline. The eighth and final principle is self-discipline. And this is the glue that holds everything together. Self-discipline is the ability to do what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. It's the difference between having a dream and living a dream. Napoleon Hill said that self-discipline is the master key to success. Because without it, you can't maintain definiteness of purpose. You can't sustain applied faith. You can't consistently go the extra mile. You can't develop a pleasing personality. You can't take personal initiative. And you can't maintain enthusiasm. Self-discipline is what gets you out of bed when you're tired. It's what keeps you working when you'd rather quit. It's what stops you from making decisions you'll regret. It's the voice inside that says, not yet, keep going, stay focused. But here's the truth about self-discipline that nobody talks about. It's not about punishment. It's not about being hard on yourself. It's about loving yourself enough to do what's best for your future, even when your present self wants something else. Think about it like this. Every time you exercise self-discipline, you're making a deposit into your future. Every time you skip it, you're making a withdrawal. And over time, those deposits compound into a life that's organized, purposeful, and successful. Let me tell you what Napoleon Hill discovered about self-discipline that most people never understand. He found that successful people weren't born with more willpower. They weren't naturally more disciplined. They just learned to align their actions with their values instead of their feelings. Most people make decisions based on how they feel in the moment. They feel tired, so they skip the work. They feel unmotivated, so they quit. They feel distracted, so they chase something else. Their feelings control their actions, and that's why they stay stuck. But people with self-discipline do something different. They decide what matters most, and they do that regardless of how they feel. They don't ask themselves if they feel like it. They ask themselves if it moves them closer to their purpose. And if the answer is yes, they do it. That's self-discipline. Self-discipline means saying no to distractions. It means protecting your time. It means guarding your energy. It means being selective about what you allow into your mind and your life. Think about how many things compete for your attention every single day. Social media, news, entertainment, other people's problems, gossip, drama, endless content designed to capture and hold your focus. Without self-discipline, you'll give your life away to these distractions 1 hour at a time. With self-discipline, you protect what matters and ignore what doesn't. Napoleon Hill studied people who achieved massive success, and he found something interesting. They all had fewer habits than most people think. They didn't have complicated systems. They didn't follow complex routines. They just had a few disciplines. They followed consistently, every single day, no matter what. That's the secret, consistency, not intensity. Most people go hard for a week and then burn out. People with self-discipline show up every day with steady effort. They don't rely on motivation. They rely on commitment. They don't wait to feel inspired. They do the work whether inspiration shows up or not. And here's the spiritual dimension. Self-discipline is an act of self-love. It's you honoring the highest version of yourself. It's you choosing growth over comfort, purpose over pleasure, long-term fulfillment over short-term gratification. When you practice self-discipline, you're saying to yourself, I believe in my future enough to sacrifice my present comfort. I trust my vision enough to delay gratification. I value my purpose more than I value temporary pleasure. That's not punishment. That's love. That's respect. That's you treating yourself like someone worth investing in. Think about the choices you make every day. The choice to hit snooze or get up. The choice to do the hard work or distract yourself. The choice to eat what serves your body or what satisfies your craving. The choice to invest your time wisely or waste it. Every single one of these choices is either a deposit or a withdrawal. And here's what happens over time. Those deposits add up, they compound, they create momentum. One disciplined choice leads to another. One day of showing up leads to another. 1 week of consistency leads to a month. A month leads to a year. And before you know it, your entire life has transformed, not because of one big moment, but because of 1,000 small decisions that all pointed in the same direction. So start small. Make one disciplined choice today, and then another tomorrow, and another the day after. Because self-discipline isn't built in one dramatic moment. It's built in 1,000 small decisions that add up to a transformed life. Don't try to change everything at once. Don't make 20 new commitments. Just make one. Choose one area where you need more discipline. Maybe it's your morning routine. Maybe it's your work habits. Maybe it's how you spend your evenings. Whatever it is, commit to one disciplined action in that area. Do it every day. No exceptions, no negotiations, and watch what happens. That one area of discipline will spread to other areas because discipline is a skill. And like any skill, it gets stronger with practice. The more you use it, the easier it becomes. The easier it becomes, the more areas of your life you can apply it to. Napoleon Hill said that self-discipline is the master key because it unlocks everything else. Without it, all the other principles collapse. You can have a definite purpose, but without discipline, you won't pursue it. You can have applied faith, but without discipline, you won't act on it. You can know about going the extra mile, but without discipline, you won't do it. Self-discipline is what turns knowledge into action. It's what turns intention into reality. It's what turns dreams into achievements. And it's completely within your control. You might not control your circumstances. You might not control other people. But you always control your choices. And self-discipline is simply choosing what matters over what's easy. Every single day. Until those choices become who you are. These 7 principles aren't complicated. They're simple. But simple doesn't mean easy. Applying them takes commitment. It takes consistency. It takes courage. But here's what happens when you do. Your life starts to organize itself. The chaos fades. The confusion clears. You start moving in one direction instead of 10. You start attracting the right people and opportunities. You start seeing results that once seemed impossible. 2026 can be the year everything changes, not because the world changes, but because you do, because you decide to live by principles instead of reacting to circumstances, because you choose purpose over drift, action over hesitation, discipline over distraction. Napoleon Hill spent 2 decades discovering what made successful people successful, and he distilled it down to principles that anyone can use. You don't need money, you don't need connections, you don't need luck, you just need to apply what you've learned here. So take these 8 principles, write them down, read them every day, live them, and watch your entire life reorganize around them. If this helped you, watch the next video where we break down how to actually apply these principles in your daily routine.